Trying to see if I could even sit on this bin. Hold on now. Hey y'all, my room is a mess because I'm unpacking these bins. Let me see if I can get y'all a better view. I'm unpacking these bins. Can y'all see this? There's one on the ground here, two over there, stuff on the table for my kids because I'm trying to get my space together, okay? I'm trying to get it together. And what's in these bins is craft stuff mainly. Well, it's a mix. In the big bins, I have my sewing machine, scan and cut, serger, stuff like that, like crafty stuff, fabric, vinyl. But I haven't unpacked it since we've lived here. I ain't touched these bins. And I was like, it's high time. So I have those bins here. And then the ones that I'm sitting on, it's like memory type stuff. So photo albums, some like knickknacks, stuff like that. I want to do them how they should. I want to do them justice. They've been in these bins all their life. And I feel like I can at least put my photo albums in here. I could put some other stuff up somewhere else, some photos or, frame some stuff. So that's what I'm doing today. But why I'm really here is I was cleaning off my shelves and like organizing it, putting stuff where I wanted it. And realized that there's a lot of books in the living room shelves and in here that I read before I made this account. So y'all didn't hear me talk about them. I'm not going to go over every single book that I have that I read before here. Only the ones that like really stood out to me when I was doing this. So that's what I'm going to do. Only the ones that really truly stood out. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Let's get started. Okay, actually, these are the ones I had like in a bin. So I'm just gonna start with the ones that were like in one of these bins. Why? Because that's just what I was doing at the time. I actually meant to grab Angela Davis out of there too. But anyways, first we have Asada. I know y'all know what this is. I've read this a couple times before I made this account. But yeah, it has a foreword from Angela Davis in here. Also have her book out in the living room. But it's just a powerful book about a Black woman that was an activist for Black rights, Black power, her story, her life. So many good lessons. I think I'm going to reread this either this year or next year. I don't know when, but when that time comes, I'll give like a full review. But yeah, this is one that I'm why did I have this packed up? Now that's the real problem. That's something we need to talk about. Why is this in a box? It was on the shelf at one point. This was in a box. The audacity of it to be in a box. For me to put it in a box. I might try to blame somebody else because I don't feel like I put this in a box, but it was in a box. Anyways, that's going on a shelf. Put that to the side. I actually did review Everything is Tuberculosis on here, but it was also in the same box as Asada, and this was on the shelf. So now I'm like, why are my books in these boxes? What was I doing? Why were they in there? But I pulled it off because it needs to go on the shelf. This book, just like, let me get the other ones that kind of remind me of this. The book that I have reminds me of, I have a few of these and they all like scattered around the house. Actually, I have more than this, but these are the only ones I'm gonna talk about right now. These are like the books that I've read with my kids. So we have The Mighty Miss Malone by Christopher Paul Curtis. The Watsons Go to Birmingham. We have The Sign of the Beaver, Bud Not Buddy, Corey's Underground Railroad Diary. These are books that I've read with my oldest son. My little son was like low-key paying attention, but not that much. That I just feel like I didn't get to review on here because, one, I didn't know if anybody wanted to hear about those. Like this year I'm reading, what was I reading with my son this year? I can't remember, but there's a couple this year that will be on this channel because I feel like they're relevant. But those are just really good books for middle-aged kids, middle school, middle grade kids. I read with my son And it's so like nostalgic because I read those when I was little. I actually didn't read The Mighty Miss Malone, but I read the other ones. And he like liked them just how much I did when I read them. So that's that. Another thing I haven't talked about on here, speaking of powerful Black leaders, the autobiography of Malcolm X as told to Alex Haley. I've read this book 4 or 5 times, maybe. This, I don't know if y'all have been here for a while, but I used to own a different copy of this book. And one of my like family members, a Black man, came over to my house and he was like, just looking through the books. And he was like, dang, everybody says I should read Malcolm X, but I've never read it. I said, take that copy, read that. So he took that copy and I just recently got a new one. I actually need to text him to see if he read it, because that's been like 2 years ago. Yeah, but I got this new one. Recently, I found it at, where did I get this book? Maybe it was a library. I don't know. Maybe it was like a local bookshop. I'm not sure, but I just got this book last year, this copy. So I haven't physically read this copy, but I've read this story and book a few times, but I haven't reviewed it on here. So I might reread this too to do a review. I feel like I want to reread these just to give y'all like my updated like thoughts on it. Another book I read before this channel is Half the Sky, Turning Oppression into Opportunity for Women Worldwide. This book I read in college, my freshman year. This was like, let me see if y'all can see it. Can y'all see that? Let me see. I hope so. This was like an assigned reading for my school. Like, I don't know how y'all school was set up, but for freshmen, for like freshman orientation class, all incoming freshmen were assigned a book to read that you kind of discuss in like your freshman orientation seminar type thing. And this was my book for that year. So I read this. And then the great part about it is after that, they had the authors, Nicholas and Cheryl, come to the school to like do a talk and answer questions about it and talk about their research while they were like traveling through the world. But this was my first time when I read this. How old was I? 18. I was 18. That's wild. Anyways, I read this at 18, and it was my first time really thinking about how oppression worldwide affected oppression here. Like how worldwide issues were very, very closely related to like issues in your region, in your nation, whatever. This was my first time really seeing that. Like, it's like I knew it, but I had no reason to really think about it. And when I read this, I was like, dang, the stuff that these women are dealing with in other parts of the world is directly related to stuff women are dealing with here. And so it made me think about that. Even though what they were dealing with exactly wasn't the same, the principles were the same. Like the ideologies were the same. So this was a powerful book for me. I haven't read this since. So I read this when I was 18. That's crazy to think about. I'm sitting here like 18. I should read this again, huh? I should. A lot of this was hard to read though. It talks a lot about like women's care, like gynecology care and pregnancy care, and just how they fought for certain things, like what the process looks like for a little girl going to school. So much good stuff in here. The last one on my lap. You know what? I was 18 when I read this. I read this the semester after I read Half the Sky. That's crazy. Coming of Age in Mississippi by Anne Moody. I read this book when I was 18 too. And okay, you can see it. It was so good. I just remember really thinking about like the young experience of growing up, not kids, or not even hearing like from a parent's perspective, but the experience of somebody coming of age from their perspective, growing up in what people are like trying to proclaim as a different world than the generation before them. But they're navigating that, because you're telling me that we can do XYZ. You telling me like I have this kind of freedom, but I don't, for real. This was good. I actually really, this making me want to reread all these. Because imagine little 18-year-old me reading this. I don't know. Like, I knew a little bit, but I ain't know a lot. I still don't know a lot, but I know more than I knew then. I should read this again. But anyways, let's see what else on the shelf we're going to talk about. I just knocked all these books over, y'all. Hold on. Whew, okay. A few more. I'm not going to do all of them, just the ones that pop out, you know. Oh, this book right here. I read this. Let me show you. Let's see. Can y'all see this? The Struggle for Black Equality. I read this book, marked all through it. I hope y'all can see. Let me see. Can y'all see this? It's so hard to see these pages. Anyways, I went through this book and thoroughly enjoyed it. Some of it's hard to read. It talks a lot about prominent civil rights activists. It talks about inequalities that they were fighting against. What do they mean when they say they want racial equality? What does that look like? Talks about that. And you really like, it's not, I'm not gonna say it's nothing new in here, because if you know anything about like Jim Crow South, civil rights movement, you probably know quite a bit. But I like how this is packaged. It's kind of like told as one cohesive story, but it interweaves like all of the prominent figures of that time, people you've heard of, a few you probably haven't heard of. Really good. I can't say when I'm gonna reread this. I thought it was good, but then it also relates the inequality and the fight for freedom and justice in America to like other nations. So it talks about Ghana's independence and other countries in Africa. So good read. I'm not going through all of them. Oh, here's another middle grade book I should have shown earlier. It's our Nelson Mandela, No Easy Walk to Freedom. We're actually going to read this next year. So yeah, be reading this. I've read this before, but it's been so long. So I'm going to reread this next year. A book I haven't discussed on here because I read it before here. This camera be blowing this stuff out. David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants by Malcolm Gladwell. This book I really enjoyed when I read it. It really like, it's not like it's stuff in here that you haven't heard of. No. It's not like it's stuff in here that you haven't heard of, but it reminds you of your place in your life, God's place in your life, and puts things into perspective, like up against adversity, what you consider a giant, your doubts, hardships, disadvantages. This puts a lot of that in perspective. So it was a really good read for me because it's always good to be reminded, like, what you feel like is this big mountain that you like up against. It's not always the case, because it might be big to you, but guess who else did? Next. Nothing else on this shelf. I'm trying to go like in order, so I'm gonna start at the top shelf, go down, and work my way over. But I'm not trying to have y'all here all day. I was just going through like some of these books I didn't get to talk to y'all about. But then some, like Divided Soul by David Ritz, I did talk to y'all about. But every time I see it on the shelf, I can't help but think about how wild this book is. Like Marvin Gaye, his musical genius, but he was such a troubled soul. He had a lot going on. But this really pointed out like that duality of a man. Like spiritually, you got two things pulling you in two different directions. This physical tug of war, this mental tug of war, things that you were subjected to that probably caused you to think that stuff that you did was okay when it wasn't. Just so many different things. This was good. And then, of course, it ended in his tragic end. Another book I didn't talk to y'all about because I read it before now. That is The Great Gatsby. Everybody knows what this book is. I actually did have to read this in high school, but I read it again in 2016 with a friend, and we talked about it. Because I read it in 2016, I was grown then. So I don't know. I also read Catcher in the Rye at that time too, and I just reread that. But I don't feel like I want to reread this right now. But I do kind of want to talk about like what I thought about it. I still have my notes from when I read it in 2016. I might just go back through it. I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it more reading it as an adult versus when I read it in high school. I actually didn't dislike this in high school though. But yeah, haven't talked to y'all about that. What else? What else? I'll talk to y'all about all of these. Oh, where's my other one? Hold on. I just saw. See, this one I'm over here. I got books all over the place. I just saw that book. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I've never got on here and talked about Maya Angelou. I've read quite a bit of her works. Let me see if you can see it. And I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I've also read Mom and Me and Mom, but I haven't. It was before I made this page. And I haven't read these. I haven't reviewed these on here. I just might. Both great. And now that I'm looking at them, like, I kind of want to reread them again. It's been a minute since I read these. I think I read this. It might have been like 15 years ago. Same with this. So I don't know. I think I should reread those soon. Oh, y'all. Okay. I have talked about this on here, but The Language of Letting Go. Daily meditations on codependency. If you were raised by people who struggle with like substance addiction or alcohol abuse, drug abuse, whatever, this is a good book. It's split up into days. So it's got 365 days and it's just split up into like bite-sized, I don't know, like chunks of something, whether that's wisdom, advice, something that you can do, something that's applicable, journaling, exercise, whatever. But it's good because it really like it puts a name to a lot of the stuff that you might not even think of. Like, oh, I do XYZ. That's what that's called. Oh yeah, I've been like, I don't like that I do that. Where is that from? And it kind of gives it. But today, I'm gonna read today's just to give you like an idea. So, September 4th, Finding Direction. That's the title. I used to spend so much time reacting and responding to everyone else that my life had no direction. Other people's lives, problems, and wants set the course for my life. Once I realized it was okay for me to think about and identify what I wanted, remarkable things began to take place in my life. Anonymous. We each have a life to live, one that has purpose and meaning. We can help our higher power give direction and purpose to our lives by setting goals. We can set goals annually, monthly, or daily in times of crisis. Goals create direction and pace. Goals help us achieve a manageable life that is directed in the course we choose for ourselves. We can help give our lives direction by setting goals. Today, I will pay attention to setting a course for action of my life rather than letting others control my life and affairs. Very good, y'all. Very good. Okay, let's see. That's it for this show. Told you I'm not trying to keep y'all 80 hours. The next one, ooh, okay. Okay. I could talk about this because I didn't. This was on my TBR last month. Let's see. Can y'all see this? Walter Mosley, 6 Easy Pieces. And I actually got like, what chapter? It was somewhere 70 something pages in. Before I said, let me see what this is about. I feel like I'm missing something. And I was. This is part of a series. And it's like deep in the series. And I was like, oh, because I wasn't getting like a lot of background on the main character. It's because he's been in these series. Like, I got enough, but I feel like I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as if I would go through and read the actual series. So I stopped reading this, which means I couldn't come on here and talk to y'all about it. So yeah. Yeah. He was in Devil in a Dress, the character. Devil in a Dress, Gone Fishing, Wild Butterfly, A Red Death, A Yellow Dog, and Black Betty. Now he's back with this. So all of those books I should read before this. So that's why I didn't. I wasn't able to talk to y'all about that. What else, y'all? What else stands out to me? Let's see. I'm trying to get the feel. Oh, I haven't talked about this on here. I just recently reviewed Nappy Edges because I reread it again. But that same author has a book more popular and widely known for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. This book is also a poetry collection. And let me see if I can show you some pictures. It was made into a movie. So you can see. Can y'all see that? I hope so. Felicia Rashad, Kerry Washington, Loretta. So yeah, Kimberly Elise. It was made into a movie, so you can go see that too. But I read this years ago and haven't read it recently. So I might read it so I can review it on here too. And I kind of want to watch the movie again. So I might do that. But Nappy Edges, where is it? Nappy Edges, I just read that and I love that poetry collection. Love that. So yeah, that's that. That's it for this show. Let's see what's on the next one. Can y'all see me down here? Okay. Let's see, y'all. I got a lot of poetry on this collection. These shelves on this row are like my mass produced paperbacks. So they're like the smaller sizes. Like, see this compared to, this size. So my smaller books, this is the complete poetry of Edgar Allan Poe. I have Catch-22 down here, The Giver, Raisin in the Sun. Same thing. I read this a long time ago, but didn't get the chance to come on here and talk about it. Oh, this right here. Oh, y'all. I know y'all know what this is. The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This is a book I've read many times. The first time I read this, I was in the 7th grade, and my aunt was like, "You can't read my books. You can't read that." So I took this and went into her closet and was reading this in the dark with a flashlight because I wanted to read this book. Same thing I did with The Coldest Winter Ever. The list goes on and on. Yeah, I read this in the 7th grade. I remember I was 11, about to turn 12, and I read this. So that's crazy. My kid 11. That's like him reading this. Anyways, I didn't have this copy though. At the time, this is the one my aunt had. Okay, let me go back. My aunt had this exact copy, and this is the one I read. But when I became an adult, I bought my own copy, which was different. And what happened to it? I gave it away. Yeah, I gave it away like in one of the times where we moved and I didn't want to pack up a lot of stuff. But I recently, last year, got another copy and it's the same one that I had then. So maybe I will reread that. I actually haven't seen a new movie with Fantasia. What else is down here? Okay, that's it for this side. Let's move to the next. Oh, I also have never reviewed. I might need to zoom in a little bit. I've never reviewed a Langston Hughes book on here. I've read quite a bit of his poetry. The Panther and the Lash, I haven't reviewed it. Now that I'm looking through my shelves, because I'm really looking through, there's actually quite a bit of poetry on here that I haven't reviewed. I really do like poetry, like a lot. I used to read a lot of poetry and a lot of plays. And then I turned around and joined a poetry club in college. But y'all want to see that? Do you want me to do a video about poetry collections or plays or something like that? I don't know. I kind of feel like I do want to go back. I did reread all of Shakespeare earlier this year, but there's plenty more. Like I know for a fact there's Robert Frost back there. I can reread Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, quite a bit. Yeah, but anyways, this book, The Practice in Mind, Developing Focus and Discipline in Your Life. I read this book like 10 years ago, and it really highlights like being mindful, like being in the moment, being able to like quiet your inner thoughts and be more perceptive to what's going on around you. Be more aware of what's going on in your own head. Like, you shouldn't be a stranger to how you feel and your thoughts. And that's what this book really drove home. It's actually one quote in here. Is this the one that I really like? A paradox of life. The problem with patience and discipline is that developing each of them requires both of them. That's not the one, but that's good too. Simplicity and effort will conquer the most complex of tasks. I love that. All the patience you will ever need is already within you. There's not the one. What's the one I want? Habits are learned. Choose them wisely. I don't know. Maybe it's not like broken out like that and it's somewhere else. But either way, this is a good read. I might reread this at some point. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Anything on this shelf? See, like I said, Robert Frost, his early poems, I might do a reread. Also, I skipped one. I never got on here and talked about Fahrenheit 451. Very good book. I read it a few times. I actually did have to read that in school, but I read it as an adult too. Okay, what else do we have that I want to like highlight? None of these. Back to plays. I have a lot of August Wilson. I'll have some more in the living room, but have a lot of August Wilson. I hope y'all, this ain't, yeah. So maybe I will do one of like plays. I got Fences, The Piano Lesson, Gem of the Ocean. I have more too, but yeah. Read those, but before I made this account. Let's see. What else do we have that I want to talk about? I never got to talk about Frozen River with y'all because I actually DNF'd it. And I don't know if I'm going to come back to it. I'm constantly thinking about getting rid of it. But then everybody say it's so good. I'm like, maybe I should give it another chance. Maybe. More Alice Walker. See? More poetry. Phyllis Wheaty. Her complete writings. Let's see. Oh. This is a book I haven't talked about on here. Seeing God as a Perfect Father. Dang, this is not focused at all. Y'all, I'm so sorry. Seeing God as a Perfect Father and seeing you as love, pursued, and secure. This book was good because it really like put a lot into perspective about if you have issues with your dad or actually any parent, just saying like you covered, like you got a dad and he's literally not like your dad if he's terrible. You know what I mean? Talks a lot about the qualities of God and the qualities of you as a child of God. So that was good. I think I read this earlier this year, like January. Maybe I read that last year. Can't remember. Another classic. I'm actually reading this on my kid too. I should have showed this earlier with the other books. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Can't wait to read that with them too. Such a good book. Such a good book. Never got a chance to talk about Moby Dick on here because I read it a while ago. I might just, let's see what's down here. Oh, look, let me grab a few of these. Let me just grab a few. Okay, so I didn't get a chance to talk about, hold on. I didn't get a chance to talk about these two books, which is a part of our book club with me and my kid, because as soon as we started The Awakening, he actually said he didn't want to read them. He didn't really like it. He didn't like the dialogue. My son was like, I don't like this. Can we stop reading it? And so we did. We stopped reading it. We did not finish this. Maybe we'll revisit it later. Sorry, maybe we'll revisit it later, but he wasn't feeling this. Not the slightest. So I didn't get to talk about him on here. We only got like 1 or 2 chapters in. So yeah. That's that. Did I go over this? Oh, I missed one. Okay, anyways. Next, I actually did review this book on my last BookTube, but again, I deleted it. That was Not All Black Girls Know How to Eat, A Story of Bulimia by Stephanie Covington Armstrong. She's a playwright, a screenwriter, and she talks about Black women and eating disorders. I first heard about her on NPR, like an NPR episode, and she talked about it. I actually really liked this book when I read it. She grew up very poor. Her mom worked. There was issues there, definitely trauma involved, but her mom like was working hard to put food on the table, you know? If you black and you're like growing up in poverty, putting food on the table, quoted just like that, is a big deal. So her mama working hard to put food on the table, but she just feel like so much of her life is out of control. And you know how you try to control one part that you can? She thought food was that thing. So she would like weaponize not eating to like really one feel some kind of autonomy, self-autonomy, but also her mama wasn't having that. She said, you know what? You gonna say you're not gonna eat this food I worked hard to put on this table. That's a problem. So that was this back and forth, and her mom was like, you gonna eat this food. So then she said, okay, I'll eat it. And then she go throw it right back up. So that was, you can imagine how that was received. So it's like this back and forth. Her like, she called using food as a weapon, weaponizing it, and then using it as a tool to get to like certain things. Then, as you can imagine, it spun into something greater, and it was a legit addiction and problem. And she just goes through like the trauma that she faced all of her childhood, things she lost, people she lost along the way, people she gained along the way, gaining her sense of self back and dignity during the time of dealing with this, fighting the stigma of Black women and eating disorders. So this is a good book. I might actually reread this. That's actually the last one. Oh, look at this. Let's give it up for Terry McMillan real quick. Y'all see this? Let's give it up. Look at this. Look at her. I read this book years and years and years and years ago, and I haven't read it in a while. I haven't watched the movie adaptation in a while. So I never got to talk about it on here because I read it so long ago. This was so good. I'm wondering if I would like it now. He had to be at least 6'4" now. I'm wondering if I would like this now. I'm curious. I'm low-key scared to read it because what if I don't? Some things I'm on the fence about rereading. I'm low-key scared to reread this. I feel like it's going to be great though. So why am I scared? I might just go for it. Y'all know what that is. This book, even if he doesn't, What We Believe About God When Life Doesn't Make Sense by Kristen LaValle. This book, I saw it actually recommended on Instagram. I'll put the lady's Instagram here. Actually, it's a shared account between her and her husband. And she is battling cancer. She's very open about her battle and her good days and bad days and how it impacts her and her family. And she posted this book. We had some conversation about it. It is a very eye-opening book. Not because it's like groundbreaking information, but you know how it talks a lot about grief and suffering and pain. But you know how you always want to think like there's got to be something. Like I'm dealing with this. It's so hard. It's like life-shattering, shaking. There's got to be a good reason I'm going through this. And we say a good reason. That could be like on the surface, it doesn't seem that harmful. But it also could be us sitting in the judgment seat. I want to judge what this future thing is that I got to go through to see if it's actually worth this pain and suffering that I'm going through right now. Especially if you talk about my kids. Especially if you're talking about being broken by a marriage. Especially when you talk about what I got to deal with my parents. Especially when you talk about XYZ. Whatever this thing is, this purpose and reason for the season, it better be worth it. That's the underlying theme sometimes. And so it talks about like the danger of thinking that way, where you always got to be like, I'm going through this for this other thing subconsciously that makes it worth this. And that's not the case all the time. Like, so just like to take a seat back or take a step back and think about the fact that you just don't know everything. You might not ever know why you went through what you went through on this side of earth. You know, you might not ever know. And even if you don't, even if he doesn't solve this problem, the way that you want it solved, even if he doesn't show up in the way that you want him to show up, that you think makes the most sense. What does that say about God in your life? And to really think about his qualities and values and yours. That's what this book did. So I enjoyed it. Didn't talk about it here. I don't know why. I probably should. I did talk about this book here. Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, How to Deal from Distant, Rejecting, or Self-Involved Parents. I talked about this here, but I always bring it back up because it's about exactly what the title says. It's a very good book that like helps you deal with and make sense of growing up with parents like that. But you're reading it as an adult. Okay, last shelf. It's actually not much over here. I feel like it's only one book. There's only one book over here, y'all, that I want to point out. That's this one right here. I reviewed The Hobbit on here earlier. In a year, maybe like a month ago. I got the graphic novel for it and went through this with my kids because my son wanted to read it, but didn't really want to read it. So I said, well, let's just go through the graphic novel together. And I did. We went through this. It was good. It was a good time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to talk about some of the books I don't get on here and talk about because they're not really relevant because I've read them before. I guess I could recommend them. I don't do a lot of like book recommendation videos. I probably should because there's a few. It's plenty in the living room that I read that I haven't talked about. So maybe I will start doing like some book recommendations based on certain themes or certain fields or certain authors, genres maybe, eras of my life. I don't know. I probably should because that would give me a reason to talk about some of these books I haven't talked about. But yeah, before I go, I want to give a shout out to Mara. I'm going to put her information up on the screen. She so graciously gifted me a birthday Amazon card. It was so sweet. I wasn't expecting it. Very intentional and thoughtful, and I appreciate that. It was just so sweet. I wasn't expecting it. Like, it was just very nice because I don't even have like an Amazon wish list. So I just assume like it kind of removes your like the possibility of you getting gifts from people online. But that was just very thoughtful. Like I had a really good birthday. And it started off after I got to sleep in, after I didn't have to make my own breakfast. Then I see my email. I got an Amazon gift card. That was so sweet. So thoughtful. I loved it. Thank you so much. I will be showing the books that I'm going to get with it because I feel like I got my eye on two. I need to go check, but I'm going to make the order today and I'll come back and show what I got. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. If y'all stayed this long, I appreciate you watching. I'm going to see y'all on the next one.